So, the last time I was here last week, following morning, travelled all over to Malaysia and Singapore, really working hard. So I haven't stopped since last Friday, giving talks all day, seminars, teaching, especially yesterday, teaching kindergarten kids in the morning, 2, 3, 4-year-old, which is a great test to teach them for an hour if you're a 60-year-old monk. But it's good fun. And then after that was in the morning, and after lunch, going into Changi prison to teaching the Section 8 prisoners, which were the hardcore, and the murderers and other sort of people, really nice guys. So it's a really strange life. And in the evening giving a big talk to 1,500 people or something. So I actually work really hard. And sometimes I do get exploited. But there's something about my life I want to share with you. And this came up during one of the sessions which I gave in Malaysia. I should also make it quite clear that when I do go overseas and I leave you guys here, I also do get some new jokes. Because some of the old ones you've heard before. So the more you travel, the more you get some more interesting stuff. I don't know why people tell me their jokes. They must think that I like telling them, which is very true. So the joke from Malaysia was the shortest fairy tale. The shortest fairy tale ever is this: once upon a time. All the fairy tales have to begin once upon a time. Once upon a time, a boy asked a girl to marry her. She said no, and they both lived happily ever after. Because it has to end with, and they both lived happily ever after. That's a monk joke. We're very cynical. But I think you like that one. That's original. So one of the sessions I was doing was at the Monash University campus in Kuala Lumpur, and they wanted to ask the meaning of life. Please explain the meaning of life. And one of the meanings of life which I focused on, which is the subject of this evening's talk, is on the meaning which you get from service, from giving not just money, but just giving your time, your energy, giving your heart, giving your emotions to somebody else, serving. And this is not theory, but it's something which I came across by accident when I was still at university. And when I was at university, I was already a Buddhist. And I joined our Buddhist society, but of course I had many friends from different faiths, especially Christianity. And one day, one of my closest friends, we went to lectures together, who was a Christian, he told me that he was volunteering for social work as a volunteer in the local hospital for mentally disabled people, Fullborn Hospital just outside of Cambridge. And they were going to help. And as soon as I heard that my best friend, who was a Christian, was going to help, I thought, oh my God, I'm a Buddhist, I better help too. It was no more than just keeping up with the Joneses. If they could do it, I had to do it. Pure ego, nothing more. But I went. And I went to help out in this hospital, volunteering in the occupational therapy ward. This was very basic in the 1960s, 70s. Very basic OT work for people with Down syndrome. And of course I went there being a conceited young man thinking I was going to help. And as everyone else who's ever done service realizes, you don't go there to help these other people, they help you. You don't go there to give, you take. And I learned so much from going to those places. And I don't mind saying that the Christians, they just left after 2 or 3 weeks, but I kept on going for 2 years. Every afternoon when I was up at Cambridge. And the reason I went there was because I started really enjoying it. It was something which I looked forward to every week. something which I love doing. And sometimes I ask myself, why did I love doing this? And what did I get out of this? And I remember many occasions, please look after your mobile phones, turn them off, out of compassion. But it might be something important. It might be God calling. If that's the case, then okay. But anyway, when I went there, I remember one occasion going there and this kid running up towards me. This was like, maybe 20-year-old, 22-year-old or something, around about the same age. A kid with Down syndrome who's institutionalized. And just give me a big hug. I was not gay, I was straight, I had girlfriends. And at that time, allowing yourself to be hugged by another male as an Englishman was a very difficult thing to do. To learn to accept the emotion of another man. I've always have been straight, I've never been gay at all. But to do that, just out of compassion and kindness, was really important. And I asked him, what are you doing that for? And he said, I could see you're upset. And he got me straight away. I'd had a difficult morning. And what I learned, what I saw, that those people with Down syndrome, they were maybe intellectually disabled, but emotionally they were much smarter than I was. And I learned, over 2 years, I learned from them their amazing emotional sensitivity. They could look at you and know what sort of mood you were in, and act accordingly, and act very, very appropriately, which is one of the reasons they were my friends. I really learned from them, and I love being with them. And if there's anything, I've said this here before, that if there's anything, any quality in my talks which I give to you, or the friendship which I give to you, which really can get into your heart, I thank those Down syndrome kids for teaching me the beginnings of emotional sensitivity, and being to trust that heart and open up to that heart and understand not a person's questions, but where they're coming from. It was a brilliant introduction to me to be able to communicate with another person on a level which was way, way deeper than just the words and the intellect. So thank you, all those kids and young men and young girls who taught me that. But this was the opening to me to understand the value and meaning of service. When you go out there giving to a community, to an organization, you think you are just being a goody-goody, making good karma, making merit points for heaven, but it's much deeper than that. You are giving your life meaning. You don't get much meaning just by your job. Yeah, you may make a little bit of difference in the world by your job, but very few people manage to, have a source of income which satisfies you to that level. Yes, you do get meaning by, looking after your family and raising your kids. But where you really get meaning in life, the stuff which you feel good about and you feel proud about, the diamonds in the ground of your life, that is where you've really served and helped one other, several other, many other people. And when you've served, you've learned. The two always go together. And when I realized that, that was also what gave me a lot of energy and happiness, going through the difficult time of a university life, which is not just doing well in your studies, but also in your social life as well. You're growing up, you're with your friends, you're looking for girlfriends, and that was an emotionally very sensitive and difficult time. I mention that because just in the last week, once in Malaysia and once in Singapore, you were dealing with suicides as well. People who lost someone they really, really cared for. Young people at that type of age. Why do they do that? And sometimes you look at yourselves going through that, adolescence, the early 20s. Very tough time. It's usually the time when most people, if they're going to commit suicide, do that suicide. Why? And I think the one thing which certainly made me moved very, very far away from that possibility, was the self-worth which I got from serving. I realized that so well. There's something inside of you, not just your money, not just your joy from going out with your girlfriend. There was something more which you needed to be a full human being, to give it real meaning, and that was actually to be worthwhile. And to serve in a community, to serve in just this little hospital, this one ward, where I could just be with kids and just help and do something, gave me this meaning, this purpose, this worth, which made me very happy. And so this was such an important thing for me to recognize. And later on, when you do become a monk, one of the great things of being a monk or a nun, especially in the early years, not so much for the later years for me, you have all this time where you can contemplate. A time when you can take these experiences of your life, put them in front of you, and really understand their meaning. So that was one of the experiences which I took, and understand why was I so happy to go to those places? Why did I get so much out of them? And that time which I got gave me these great insights, which I share with you now. If any of you are feeling down or depressed, don't even, go to the doctor, yes. But one amazing, effective antidote to depression, which is one of those curses, these scourges going through our modern world, is going out doing service for others. If you volunteer in an old people's home, in an orphanage, in a hospital, in a Buddhist society, wherever it is, if you volunteer, you will find that your tendency to enter depression is reduced enormously. Such a simple thing to do, without needing to put chemicals into your body, which really helps. And I think you can understand why. When you go home after your service, you've done something. You're worthwhile. Because that's one of the things which people give you. They give you that sense of, thank you so much. The little service which I did just with the kids, I don't need to do that. 2 or 3 or 4-year-old kids. That's not my strong point. As a monk, I'm a simple guy. I don't know how to teach kids. I don't know what to do, how to spend time with about 20 or 30, 2, 3, 4-year-olds. You know what I eventually did? I started, they said, where do you come from? I come from Australia. What do you know about Australia? Kangaroos. Okay, let's get up and play kangaroos. And so either was I, with my hands like this, hopping up and down with these little kids. Hopping down, they enjoyed that. That was one of the successful things I did that morning. You see Ajahn Brahm hopping around like a kangaroo with 2 or 3-year-olds. It was a lovely little thing to see, though. I hope someone took a photograph of that. She'll put it in the newsletter. But I'm more happy just sitting down cross-legged with my eyes closed. That's what I'm really good at. But even in the afternoon, just going into the... it took such a long time to get through all the security, to get to this, this unit with the really hard cases in Singapore. And that's a tough jail. Much tougher than anything here in Australia. And I've been to many jails in Australia. Very tough, but just spending 2 hours with these guys. And I came out feeling so much energy and happiness. So did they. I didn't really give them that much. I got so much back. But I served. Spent a couple of hours with guys who were in hell. Now that really shows you what service is. In the evening I had to give a big talk. Again, 1,500 people. Sometimes you think, how on earth can you do that? You should be whacked out, you should be tired, you should be exhausted. But this is the other thing which I wanted to bring up. When you do service for others, it gives you this spiritual energy. It's not just happiness, but you wake up, you're alive, you're powerful. That's why any of you who get tired, which is part of being depressed, one of the reasons is you're not giving enough. you're not using this great spiritual source of energy called serving. It's well known in some places that if you work for your boss, if you work at the company, you can do so much. But if you work for some charity, work for some service, work for others, you get more energy and you can do a better job. This is weird, isn't it? Why is that? The reason is because there's something else in this service, in this giving, in this selflessness, doing something for others, which is a source of deep spiritual energy and happiness and fulfillment. This service. And I remember I've done that for such a long time as a monk. Sometimes, some of the other monks, they look at my schedule when I go overseas. I am not lazy. If you see those schedules from 7 o'clock in the morning until sometimes 11 o'clock at night, and there is no gaps in between. Give, give, give. And to be able to actually to give a talk to so many people, and they've come all this way, and to keep them looking at you and engaging and teaching and inspiring them, so they go back after and say, wow, that was amazing, and it changes their lives, and they come back next time. That is a very tough thing to do when you're exhausted. But how you do that? You're serving, you're giving. It accesses a very common source of spiritual power. Service gives you energy and happiness as well. And so whenever you do feel really tired, I just can't do that today. I've been working so hard. I can't go and visit sort of the old folks' home. I can't go and just help with clean up Australia. I can't do these things. I'm tired. I'm worn out. No, if you're worn out and tired, that is when you need to do that stuff. Because you will notice, like I've noticed, like everyone else notices, you don't really want to go. But when you come home, wow, I'm glad I went. Otherwise, you'll find there's something in the human being which is really hungry, which has got no gas in it. It's not just the old, man doesn't live by bread alone, or by noodles, or by pasta, depending on where you come from in this world. But you do really need that ability to give and to serve, to get the other part of the energy of the mind and the heart really going. Otherwise, you do feel hungry. It's like you haven't eaten today. You haven't served today. You haven't given today. You haven't been needed today. And that's one of the reasons why people do get tired and depressed in our society. But if you get out there and serve and give, then it's amazing what happens. One of the first times this happened to me, I think I told this story just not so long ago. Another occasion when I helped some monks, when I not washed their robes, but I helped the monks dye their robes all night. That was the occasion. Please excuse me if I repeat myself or I don't repeat myself, because I give so many talks. Since I last saw you, I've given about 20 talks. And that's pretty accurate probably. And in those 20 talks, I don't know what I've said and what I haven't said. If it's only one talk, you remember what you said in the last talk, but I told this story somewhere. I'm not sure if it was here. But anyway, it's a very powerful tale. When I was making these robes for these monks, helping them all night, they'd been up for about 36 hours without sleep. And if ever you've gone without sleep for that long, you just know that really hurts. That's painful, physically and emotionally. And they were still having to do another day or two's work to finish the job. It was their duty. It was a tradition in that monastery. If you were going to ordain as a monk, you had to make your own robes and dye them. So these monks would be making their robes. And I went up to them after the evening meeting, maybe about 9:30 or 10 o'clock. And in that meeting, when I went up to see them, I said, you guys, you really need some rest. You go up back and have a sleep. I will look after the dye pot all night. It was amazing. They never argued. They went before I could even say anything else. They were just so tired. They really craved sleep. They were off. And I hadn't slept for till the night before. So I was up all night, working really hard, doing 3 or 4 months' work myself. In those monasteries, the morning bell went at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's one of the reasons we don't have bells here, because the neighbours will start complaining, ringing the bell at 3 o'clock in the morning. But we used to get up at 3 o'clock, so that's when the bell went. And these monks, they came up from their sleep, and they came and said, "Thank you so much, we've rested, now we'll take over." And they thought I was going to go and take a rest myself, but it was a morning meeting, so I went to the hall and started meditating and chanting. And that morning I had so much energy. Now, you know what it's like sometimes when you meditate and you're really tired, you had a really busy day, like many of you, your head was down here, you were tired, you were sleeping, you were dull, because you've been working hard. Imagine if you haven't slept all night. Of course, you're dull, you're sleepy, it's nature. But that morning I was perfectly alert. Great meditation, so much energy. And when we did our chanting, if you wanted to learn the chanting, we do that at 7 o'clock before the meditation. My chanting was really powerful. When it's like you really got it, Namo Tassa, wow. You had the energy. And that's what it was like. And it was really weird. Counterintuitive, if you hadn't slept all night, why have you got so much energy? And I went to ask the monk who was with me, and he said, "It's because you've done that service all night. You've helped other monks. That's why you've got energy." And that meant so much to me. That gave me the opening to really give even more. So when I'm tired, I can still give. When I've talked all day, I can talk some more. When I'm really tired and someone comes and asks me some question and some service to do, yeah, I can do it for you. Why is that? Because I get off on it. I get energy. If I have an addiction, it's an addiction to that energy of serving and the beauty and the joy which you get afterwards. Try it out. It's power. It's energizing. But more than that, it gives you this incredible meaning in your life. You're actually doing something for other people. You're helping and serving. And so every now and again, when you do those sorts of services for others, you get the payback. You get the payback straight away with energy and happiness and joy. But then later on, they give you accolades, medals, gifts. In that service which I gave at the Full-Born Hospital for 2 years, these are one of the memories which I will die with, which I'll always remember and never forget. One afternoon, it was only about a week or 2 weeks before the final examinations. I was so skilled and used to these groups that they gave me one group to myself in the first session, and then being in England we had tea about 3 o'clock and then another group afterwards. But they gave me different groups. Now these were people employed to look after these, but they said, "No, you look after it yourself. We trust you so much, we've got administrative work to do." I didn't realize they were lying. Because when I was looking after one group myself, they were all in the other group, making gifts for me. And these little cards, "Thank you." My name in that time was Peter. "Thank you, Peter, for coming all these years to look after us. We love you, we care for you. Please come and visit after you leave." Because they thought this was my last time at this hospital. So in one group, there's 2 groups in this unit. One group was with the teachers and the administrators making these cards for me. And then afterwards, we swapped. And these Down syndrome kids, they never told me anything. They were in on the secret and they could keep it. As I say, they were emotionally incredibly smart. And I never sussed it out until afterwards, when we were all finished, they said, "Can you stay around a bit longer?" And they all came together, about 40, 50 of these Down syndrome people, these beautiful angels. And they started presenting me one by one with all these gifts. And they meant it because I'd known them for 2 years. I was their friend. I was this long-haired student who would come every week. And they said, "Thank you for coming for 2 years." And I cried, as I sort of feel wet-eyed now. And because there's simple things, just what you get in school, when they sort of write cards to teacher, the intellectual abilities were so low, but what it said was just so full of love and care. And they gave these to me, heaps of them. Oh, that was just one of the most amazing experiences of my life. to feel so loved and cared for, and to see all that stuff which I'd given, not because I wanted to, because I just loved doing it, and seeing the reward. It was one of those emotional highs which I'll never ever forget. And afterwards, I had to tell very sheepishly, I said, excuse me, but I know you think this is my last day, but actually next week I can come as well. Can I come next week? And I begged to come next week because I enjoyed it. It was great fun. I love doing that sort of stuff. And this is actually what happens when you do service for others. You get this big boost and this big happiness. And when you do get some sort of reward from it, some people thank you, it means so much to you. You've done something in this world and you feel so good about it. Your life has meaning and worth. It has meaning and worth, in the way you've improved the lives of others. And it has meaning and worth in what you've learned in the whole process. It lifts you up. It's spiritual. It's beautiful. That's why it's something which gives life meaning. And I always remember this. Please excuse me for keeping on going on about funerals and death and stuff, but that's the end of a person's life when you actually look back and see what they've done. You see what you've done when you die. One of these days it's going to happen, or happen to your brother. They're going to go. And at the end of their life, that's what they look back on. What have you done? What have you served? What difference have you made? And those are the things you remember. I don't plan to die tonight, but if I did, I'd remember all those beautiful things which I say I did for those Down syndrome kids. Or the time when I've been really, really, really tired and I've just gone to help somebody. They're just examples which come up. Okay, it's about me because I know me. I'm not trying to push my own barrow. I'm just trying to inspire you guys to do the same. It was during the Rains Retreat. The Rains Retreat is a time when we are supposed to take a rest. Even the monks say, okay, Ajahn Brahm, you can travel here, you can travel there. I don't care what you do, but when it's a retreat period, you stay put. We need you, we want to see you take a rest. So I got a call from Singapore, from a lady who's really helped out in the past. She said her husband just died this morning. Could I come for the funeral? Which was happening the next day. I can't just drop what I'm doing and just go to Singapore just for the next day. You've got to get a ticket. You've got to sort of organise things and change things. And the only way you can go over this, flying overnight, which is really, really tiring. I never get a good night's sleep on an aircraft overnight. I don't know about you. When you're young, you can do that. But when you're 60, you need your sleep. You get really tired. So I went. No, that's my day. I love doing that. All the logical reasons, no, you don't have to do this. So I went, and I really was so grateful for having the opportunity to go. Arriving there just really groggy, really sleepy, doing the funeral service for them, and coming back the next morning. It was giving, it was serving. Doing the impossible, or doing the stupid. If you want me to serve you, the more stupid it is, the more likely it is I will accept. Because I know because I get more energy and happiness that way. And so that when a person does actually pass away, and you listen to them, or rather listen to those eulogies, what that person meant to all the friends and relations who come. And sometimes I've gone to some huge funeral services. You know why so many people go? It's because they want to hear and say what that person, that man, that woman actually did. And that's why those big funerals, I love going. It's not depressing. I get inspired by what a person has done in their life. So if there's ever any famous person, I don't mean a politician, I mean someone who's really, really served, like a Fred Hollows or someone like that, go to their funeral. Listen to what they've done. And that inspires the pants off you. You just want to sort of go out afterwards and do the same. Their service It's inspirational. And you all know that because sometimes that we do read in the newspapers, we do hear from our friends, we maybe even know someone who's really gone out there and given so much, and it gives life meaning and hope. Part of one of the series of talks I gave, these all-day seminars, they like giving things titles. And so the theme was don't worry, be happy. It's a nice little, don't worry, be happy, but I decided to change it, even though they had it on all the brochures. Because I said, well, what is actually worry? What does worry actually mean? And worry is when you look at the future with a negative mind. You look in the future with all the things which might go wrong, and all the things which will be mistakes, and all the pain and difficulty which may lie ahead, which might happen. And that's called worry. But the antidote to that is looking at the future with a positive mind and imagining all the things which might go right. Not the things which might go wrong, the things which might go right. And that's called hope. So I changed the theme of my talks in Malaysia. Don't worry, be Hopey. Decided to create a new English word, as people always do. Hopey is like being someone who has lots of hope, who keeps on hoping, hoping for the best, hoping for wonderful things to happen. So, don't worry, be Hopey. And if that word ever occurs in the Dictionary of Australian New Words, you know where it came from. You heard it here first on Friday night. So be Hopey. And how can you be Hopey? Again, it's that inspiration which gives you hope. And it's a negativity which gives you fear. So one of the reasons why people are fearful is they don't do enough social service. I'm making a lot of connections here which you may not feel, you may not see, but I can see those things because this is my area of expertise. Because what happens when you don't do that service, you don't get that energy, you get negative. You're tired, you're worn out, you've got no self-esteem or self-worth. That is one of the things which I give when I ever go into a prison. As I mentioned before, this is powerful stuff. There is no such thing as a murderer in prison. There is no criminals in prison. There are no thieves. There is no such thing as a rapist. Or for that matter, a terrorist. Terrorists do not exist on this planet. There are people who have done terrorist acts. But that doesn't make them a terrorist. There's other parts to them. And you can't sort of just put a person in a box and say that's all they are. They're a murderer because they murdered one thing. This is one of the difficulties with people. We do one really bad thing, and that we focus on that, and that becomes who we are in the eyes of others. And when other people look upon us, you're the murderer, then that's really what we become. We don't see anything else because no one else sees it in us. And my job when I went into prisons, my trick, if you like, was when I went in there, I never saw the crimes, I saw the person. I never saw the murder, I just saw a person who had murdered. When I did that, you see the bigger picture, I could respect that person in front of me, while other people were afraid of them. Yeah, even in Changi jail you had to have security things. One of the people with me had the alarm, in case they jump you, in case they try and rape you, do that alarm. You wouldn't get there quick enough. I remember in Hakea jail, it's called now, in Canning Vale, going in there once, to teach meditation to the guys in there. And as I checked in at the main gate, they gave me a pen. It was like a little biro pen, which, your ballpoint, which you stick in the top pocket of your jacket. And so the prison officer said, put this in your pocket. And I looked at them and said, look, how long have I been coming in here? A couple of years. I haven't got any pockets. I'm a monk. I've just got a robe. Where do you expect me to put this? Because you're not allowed to take your bags in there. Just your robe. So I'll just hold on to it or whatever. I don't care. Because it was not a pen. It was a security device. And he said, if you notice on the ceilings, there are what looks like smoke detectors. They are not smoke detectors. They're an alarm system. If you get attacked, point the pen at one of the alarms, press the button, the alarm will go off and we'll know where you are. It will come and protect you. Because there would have been a lot of rapes in that prison and beatings up of visitors, people like me, on the past couple of weeks. So this was their new government-sponsored security device. And they told me, don't tell the prisoners. This is top secret. Act as if it's an ordinary pen. The government is sometimes a bit stupid because I'm being generous by saying sometimes. They're all good. They're trying their very best, but sometimes they don't do the research and they don't appreciate just the cleverness of people in prison. They're not sort of lower class citizens. They're the same as everybody else. But as soon as I got into my class, about 30 or 40 prisoners, the first thing they said was, oh, you've got one of those security devices as well. Of course they knew what was going on. But then this guy, he became a really good friend. I don't know what's happened to him now. It'd be great if I could catch up with him again. He's a really, really great guy. A big guy, big blonde guy, really tough. He was one of the leaders in the jail. And, he was sitting right in front of me. And he said, Brahm, do you think you could even point that thing at one of those sensors before I jumped you and raped you? Now that could be a scary thing because this was a big guy and they've got nothing to lose. And I looked at him and said, probably not. He said, you couldn't. Even before you thought about it, I'm that quick. But then he smiled and said, you don't have to worry. You don't need those security devices. If any of the guys behind tried that, we'd stop them. We like you. Thank you for coming. That was my security device. All the service which I had given when I was the safest person in that prison. If something happened to me, the prisoners would protect me. That's why. Because I had given, I was protected. And I know that's a wonderful thing to give service to others. You are always protected. When I do go overseas, which I go overseas often, I know maybe the treasurer or the president of the committee here, and some of you might be a bit shocked. I never carry any health insurance when I go overseas. The reason is because I've helped and served so much over the years. If I do get sick, all these people will be there to help me. Sometimes they fight. This is true, I coughed once last night. And this guy came up with all this medicine for me. Actually, two people came up with antibiotics and cough medicine and goodness knows what else. That's why the people are so kind and they look after you. So when you do service, you get these great things coming back to you. You get looked after. You get cared for, not just on a spiritual plane, but on a deeper, on the ordinary plane of that. People are there to help you. Do any of you ever feel alone in life? There's not anyone to care for you in your old age or even now. If you want to remedy that, service. And you always know there'll be people there for you. We call it the law of karma. We don't need to sort of put it in any philosophical or spiritual, metaphysical basis. You know that it actually works. It's what goes around comes around, law of karma. If you really help someone else and do some service, they will always be there for you. in really unexpected times, which is brilliant and wonderful to experience that. So, it gives you this happiness, it gives you this joy, it gives you this protection, it takes away a lot of the depression, you get more energy out of it. So I'm not saying this because we need more people to join our Buddhist society or to help with this or help with that. We'd still do, obviously, but that's not the purpose for me saying this. I'm saying this to get more happiness and joy, less sickness, less depression, less anger. You feel so good about yourself. You get so much energy, you don't get so tired. I remember somebody asked me recently, one of the greatest causes of anger is tiredness. I said this because I remember where it came from. We had a youth seminar all day, trying to sort of give something to the Buddhist youth from 16 to 25 years of age. And we were asking them, what's your biggest problem in life? And the one which won, the one which was the biggest problem, was not the studies, it was not sort of relationships, trying to find another girl or a boy, because it's amazing just how shy the kids are in Malaysia and Singapore. They just won't go up and talk to each other like they do here in Australia. Incredibly shy. Some of these girls, really pretty, should have 10 boyfriends. Oh no, I'm too shy. Aussie girls wouldn't stand for that. But anyway, they're not in Australia. But the problem which they felt the most was tiredness. And that really shocked me, because I never expected that. But yeah, the amount of stress and hard work on your teenagers and young people is so huge, they can't really take it. That's their biggest problem. And when you're tired, you don't just think straightly. Your emotions are not sort of fully sharp. And certainly you don't have this happiness and joy in life when you're energized. So I said, it's a tough life as a teenager, as a young man. You are tired. You've got to do so many things. And some of you've seen your kids working up to 1 or 2, 3 o'clock at night on their computer screens because they've got an assignment to get through tomorrow. And they get their social life. They've got to balance their parents. And gee, it's just so tough. They get tired. It'd be a wonderful thing for kids just to have a bed to sleep in and don't have to get up in the morning. Maybe just have 1 day a week is your sleep day. And then they would perform much better at school. They wouldn't be so grumpy to the mummy and daddy. And have a much better life. If that doesn't work, the other way to overcome the tiredness, service, giving to others, looking after somebody else. That gives you again the free boost of energy. You try it and see it. It doesn't seem to work according to, biology. You're tired, you've been working all day, your legs are sore, you're just tired. But no, you do it and you get this big boost of spiritual energy. It's not just the body, it's the mind, it's the heart which is important. And if your heart is dull, it doesn't matter how many calories you put in, you just can't use them. You just get fat instead, like me. But if you get the spiritual energy coming up through something like service, my goodness, you really can get some energy up. Some positive, beautiful energy. So you feel alive, you feel happy, you don't get angry, you don't get upset at other people. And you live a long and happy life with meaning. When you think what you've achieved, you get incredible happiness. At times again in my life when I've literally wept because what you've achieved. The one time I remember mentioning to the people over in Malaysia and Singapore was a time we completed Jhana Grove Retreat Centre. Many of you have been down there. It's a great place to meditate or just to chill out and sleep a lot if you want to do self-retreats. It's not really self-retreats, it's sleep retreats. But whatever it is, it's a wonderful place to go. We built it. Don't know how many years it took from the beginning. You have a project, you push it through, and when you achieve something like that, you get this incredible surge of happiness. And for me, for those of you who remember the story, builders they don't do things for service, they do it for the money. So they're always late, promising this and the deadline's passing. So the night before the ceremony, some of the monks were up to 3, 4 o'clock in the morning finishing off the building to be ready for the following day. We made it, and the ceremony was a great success. And part of that ceremony, for those of you who were there, we took the Buddha statue from Bodhinyana Monastery, closed the road, Kingsby Drive down. We had all these, I forget who it was, the traffic people, so the cars couldn't come up for a couple of hours. And we carried that Buddha statue the 1 kilometre, a ceremonial bringing the Buddha to Jhana Grove. And on that ceremony, that was the one time that I wasn't talking to people. I was part of the procession. So you couldn't talk to me, you couldn't ask me questions. And that was a time by myself I started thinking what we'd achieved and started crying. Beautiful tears of joy. Yeah, you've done something. Wow, that is really cool. You do things like that. And when you remember what you've done, what you've achieved, whoa, that's a big bliss. A free energy, a free happiness. And if you've got cancers or depression, that blasts it away. Because that's pure spiritual power and energy. For those of you who are traditional Buddhists, that's called Chag Anusati, one of the 40 meditation techniques of the Buddha. Reflecting on what the beautiful, inspiring things you've done. I don't make this up. This is true. So get out there. Serve. Wherever, your local community, your local this, your local that. Get out there and do it. For the power, the happiness and the joy. And once you've done that, reflect on what you've done. Wow. Your life has meaning. So that's the talk this evening. Giving your life meaning through this beautiful service. Learning, growing, and really being somebody who's got energy and power. So, that's the talk this evening. I should be really tired. But here we go. We've got 4 questions. Mona from India, Delma from New York, Apurva from USA, and Jules from Perth. Jules from Perth. You think you could come here, Jules? Anyway, first of all, Mona from India is taking care of family and children's service. Not enough. Because that's more like duty rather than service. That's what you're supposed to do to take care of your family and children. So you got lots of family, lots of children, there's lots of hard work. But what about going to an orphanage where the children have no parents, have no family? Go and serve there as well. Do more. Delmar, New York, my sister who has stopped letting me help her, stopped talking to me. You want to help, but they push you away. Have you ever pushed anyone away who wants to help you? So if we're going to have service and people helping, sometimes you have to be the person who's helped. I tell this story. It's a very short story, but it makes a point. Once there was an old lady, and this boy, his good deed for the day helped her across the road. Even if she didn't want to go, she always lets the boy help her across the road. And when she's on the other side, oh, thank you so much for helping me across the road. And when the boy's out of sight, then she can cross on the correct side of the road afterwards. In other words, always allow yourself to be helped. Even myself, sometimes people give me things. Here's my sock story. Many years ago, sitting here, before I came in, this Sri Lankan lady, she's not here today, that's why I can probably tell it. She knitted me a personal pair of socks, just for you, Ajahn Brahm. And those of you who've seen me over the years, I don't wear socks. I've got very good circulation. Even when I was in England, when it was snowing, I would wear thongs without socks. My feet never got cold. Really good circulation, so you don't need socks. But she gave them to me, and she knitted them herself. So, during the talk, I put them on, but you can't see my feet, can you? Because, they're under the robe. So during the talk, I fidgeted, like sometimes I do, and I put my foot out. And I carried on talking all the time. She was sitting over there, and I could hear her. He's wearing my socks! He's wearing my socks! She was so happy. And when I went back, I took them off and gave them to somebody else. But I never told her that. She saw me wearing her socks. So that's important to do that. When somebody serves you, let them. Doesn't matter whether you need serving or not. Doesn't matter whether you need the socks or not. The other person needed to give it to you. The other person needed to serve. It's a beautiful thing to serve. It's also why I say when you're sick and in bed, let your partner pamper you. It's nice being pampered, but it's even better being the one who does the pampering. You get so much fun, turning on your wife, turning on your husband by getting her favourite breakfast and you cooking it. Darling, this is for you. Hope you get better soon. You get more fun doing that than receiving it. That's why serving is such a beautiful act of love and kindness and just really makes you very, very strong and powerful. So your sister stopped letting me help her. Please send her the tape, and please, sister, let the other person help you. Even if you don't need it, they need to do the helping. Another one from the United States. I really want to do service to others. However, I'm just not sure how to get started. How do you get started? Old people's home is one of the best because these old guys and old girls are just so wise. And they've had all this incredible experience in life. And you just look in the yellow pages, whatever you got in the United States, local old people's home, walk up there and say, I want to help serve. Sure, there's many of these people whose children just don't have the time to come and visit, or just fed up with visiting, I don't know. There's many people in this old people's home who hardly get a visit for once in 6 months or something. So you go and help out. There's this guy who used to come here. He found this old lady who she was immobile. I think it's through when he got divorced, I think she adopted his dog or something. But she had no car and no public service. Public transport's not that good in Perth. So he said, look, anytime you need a lift somewhere, I've got my own business. I can take half an hour off or an hour off, just let me know and I'll help you. And he was really into serving this old lady. And, she'd want to go to the dentist or the doctor. She'd ring him up and he'd stop what he was doing and take her there and bring her back afterwards. He had plenty of time to do his business. And it gave him a lot of happiness, he said, to help someone. It was service. But what happened in the end was she said, oh, can you take me into town? I've got to see my lawyer. So, he said, yeah, sure. So I took him into St. George's Terrace, parked the car. And she said, oh, would you mind coming in as well? I probably need someone to do witness signature or something. So he went in with her. The lawyer was expecting both of them because she was making her will out to him. $a few million. He never expected that. And he came and told me, he said, wow, this karma really works. So, our Purva in the United States, go to an old people's home. It may No, that's not what you go there for. You go there to help, to serve, to look after people. And sometimes you get this incredible, beautiful relationship. You get another grandma or grandpa. I love not about you, I love my grandma and grandpa. They're just so nice and kind, and you could talk to them and share things with them you could never tell your dad or your mum. Remember your grandparents, your nanas or grandpas? They're beautiful people. So you can have another one for free. So just go there, yellow pages or orphanages or something. You'll be there and just go there and volunteer. Just do anything, just talk, play. Look, I'm a monk, 60 years old. I can sort of spend time with kindergarten kids. So surely you can do whatever you want. Just go and be you. Last Jules from Perth. I serve 4 children, 3 grandchildren. Youngest daughter is a heroin addict. Oh, that's not so easy. And I'm tired. What do you do when you can't give much more and you live in fear your child will die at any time? Okay, that means you really do need to serve more. Yes, you're tired, but your tiredness is mostly coming from, the fear. First be fear and just the, maybe even guilt. Because it's amazing, I'm not quite sure. Jules, is that man or a girl? Could be either. Anyway, but if it's a girl, because you do lots of counselling, all you women, you always take on the guilt, you take on the burden, you take on the blame. You should never ever do that. I don't know what the feminine brain does. They always think, it's my fault, even though it's not your fault. You couldn't have done any better. So please don't get into the guilt trip. And if you are tired, you can always do a little bit more. For others, it's just going the extra. That's where you get the spiritual energy from. Not sleeping all night. Helping my friends who were monks because they really needed a rest. I didn't need to go to that hospital when I was a student, but I did, and it was a wonderful thing which I did. That lady in Singapore whose husband died, I didn't need to go there. She didn't expect me. She just said, on the off chance I might be able to go.